It's an information item. 15-minute presentation, 15-minute discussion. Ms. Kua Franz and Barbara Cronick.
Good evening, Board President Rodriguez, school board members, and Superintendent Jonathan Raymond. Tonight, I'm going to highlight a second department from our Office of Family and Community Engagement. We are joined here tonight with our Integrated Service Support Department. I have with me our director, Barbara Cronick, who will introduce her team and will give an update on where we are with our bullying prevention work.
Thank you. Good evening, President Rodriguez and board members. So we're going to be I'm not going to be talking. I'm going to have my staff talk about bullying prevention and intervention, but I want to give a little bit of historical context. 5 years ago, Sac City received a grant from the California Endowment to assist in the development of an integrated district-wide approach to serving the mental health needs of our students. Through this process, a number of recommendations and strategies were developed. One of these strategies was to create a centralized youth and family resource center to assist in accessing mental health support and services. Out of this was born the Connect Center, which you may remember we presented on last March. Another strategy, which brings us here tonight, was to focus on prevention-oriented activities that foster a healthier school and climate and a strong culture of respect and inclusiveness for all students. More specifically, the goal was to develop a clearly articulated policy and programs to address bullying. With that, I'm very proud and pleased to introduce you to Lauren Schwecke and Sheila Self, who worked tirelessly to develop a very rich and comprehensive bullying prevention program.
Great, thank you, Barbara. Let's see, can I use this clicker? I turn it on, okay. And thank you to the board. We've been waiting for the right moment to present to you because we've been doing a lot of work and have wanted to share it, but at a point where we have enough to share, but we're not too far along. So we're very excited to present to you. So I'm going to quickly go through an overview of what we're going to talk about. Tonight we're going to focus mostly on the administrative regulation because that is really where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. You approved the policy last year. It took the better part of the year to really work out the details of how we're going to roll this out and how we're going to make an impact on bullying. So we're going to talk mostly about that, but we're also going to cover prevention strategies, data collection, community involvement, special populations, and next steps. So Barbara gave you some of the history. I won't go into it. Suffice to say that the administrative regulation is really the last line of a long series of steps that we've taken, and this is really the part that that we're really going to start seeing some rapid progress. A lot of the work to date has been planning, organizing, thinking. It's been, I would say, one of the most complex issues I've dealt with in my career. Just amazing how many different areas bullying has to pull from to really make an impact. The goals of the administrative regulation and the bullying prevention policy are of course, oriented at first towards prohibiting acts of harassment or bullying behavior. But we all know that underneath that, it's about creating a positive school climate. It's about, teaching students and getting everyone on board with the idea of respectful behavior, promoting an inclusive atmosphere, and of course modeling a safe academic environment. And so that really underneath everything that we're trying to do is what it's all about. And Sheila's going to come up and tell you a little more about the specific elements of the AR.
Thank you, Lawrence. It's a pleasure to present to you, Chairperson Rodriguez, the board, Superintendent Raymond, on the district's bullying prevention initiative, beginning with the definition of bullying. The district's definition states that bullying must include all of the following features: severe or pervasive physical or verbal acts, including written and electronic communication, one or more acts committed by a student or group of students directed toward one or more students, and that it has the reasonably predicted effect that one or more of the following could occur: that their fear of harm to person or property, a detrimental effect to physical or mental health, a substantial interference with academic performance, and substantial interference with the ability to participate or benefit from school services, activities, or privileges. And the definition also includes actual or perceived characteristics as listed in this slide. So things of disability, gender, religion, socioeconomic status, mental, physical, sexual orientation, and association with persons with these perceived characteristics. So we go and look at Electronic Act, specifically with Assembly Bill 1732. And so this addition becomes effective January 1st of 2013. So we're looking forward on this particular issue. The Electronic Act will be expanded to include a message, sound, or text, a post on a social network, internet website, including but not limited to posting or creating a burn page, creating a credible impersonation of another actual student without consent, creating a false profile or a fictitious student or a profile using the likeness or attributes of an actual student. An electronic act is not considered pervasive solely on the basis that it's been transmitted on the internet or that it's currently posted on the internet. So in order to meet our goal of a district-wide, robust, and comprehensive anti-bullying initiative, we're going to have to address the comprehensive school site safety plan. Each site will create a bullying prevention plan annually that will include the following elements: a statement of assurance that every student will be protected from bullying incidents, designation of a site administrator to receive and respond to all reports of bullying, procedures for reporting bullying behavior, expectations regarding staff training, other activities and strategies to prevent bullying behavior. The bully prevention plan will be in addition to the school site safety plan and approved by the school site council. So transitioning to reports of bullying behavior, let's look at those requirements. They state that staff, student, parents, and others are required to report bullying. Reports can be made to any employee, either verbally, in writing, electronically, or by completing what we now have as a report of suspected bullying form. The report of suspected bullying form will be completed to document bullying behavior when observed or reported by student, parents, or others. And the completed form is immediately given to the designated site administrator. In addition, we have updated the student handbook to include this information about bullying reporting requirements. And moving to our next slide, it includes the anonymous reporting system as well. So this year, we're utilizing the WeTip bullying report hotline. That number is 1-855-86-BULLY. Reports can be made by phone or QR code, which is that funny square code that you see on the pieces of paper and posters and things so that you can take and use your smartphone. WeTip sends the report to the bully prevention specialist, who then contacts the site administrator. During back to school, the district distributed hundreds of WeTip posters to school sites in August. 8 posters went to every elementary site, as well as 15 to every secondary site, so that the information about anonymous reporting has that comprehensive method. So the reporting response is that we have the designated site administrator investigating all reports of bullying and determining if bullying in fact has occurred. If the report meets the district's definition of bullying, the administrator within 24 hours will contact the parent and guardian of the students involved, develop a written student safety plan, develop a written student action plan, provide a copy of those plans to the students, and follow up to ensure that bullying behavior has ceased. The completed forms will be placed in the student's cumulative folder and sent to the bullying prevention specialist to review for compliance and best practice. So once again, that's the bullying incident form, the student safety plan, and the student action plan. Additionally, Assembly Bill 1156 states that if the safety and action plans have not been effective in resolving bullying behavior and ensuring student safety, then at student's legal guardian request, the administrator will give priority transfer to the student to another school or to another district. The decision to transfer will be made jointly between the administrator and parent and student when age appropriate. Also, we're emphasizing alternative responses so that site administrators shall develop strategies to assess the needs of students who are engaged in bullying behavior, that they'll attempt to utilize alternative consequences and progressive disciplinary responses, and provide support to students to address the underlying causes of bullying behavior. And now I'd like to return it to Lawrence, who will complete our presentation, and I'll be available for questions afterwards.
So the AR spells out certain requirements and recommendations regarding training. The AR requires that all administrators attend 2 hours of training every 2 years. And that's going to be our big effort this year, is to get all administrators trained. 2 hours is really the minimum. We really need 3. But we're trying to make do with it. But we're going to cover all the policies and procedures, strategies to prevent bullying, and all the materials, information, new forms that they have to complete. And then, of course, be available for consultation on a case-by-case basis. We're asking the administrators to offer training, at least 2 hours of training for all their school staff. We know we can't mandate all school staff to attend, but we really want to get every school to offer training to their staff. We want to make sure that we're touching not just the teachers, but the yard duty staff, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, et cetera. Because those are the folks that oftentimes have the view of what's going on the playground, in the lunchroom, et cetera. This summer, Sheila did a training for all of our bus drivers. And so we have to figure out how do we reach all those other groups. Training students is something we're recommending. We don't have any mandate in place yet, and we have some strategies I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And then training parents, volunteers, and community members. We're going to do that 6 times a year throughout the different regions of our district. We just did one at Burbank. We had 67 parents and community members attend. We have 5 more scheduled over the next couple of months that have been in the news, so I hope we'll get good attendance. As far as prevention strategies, our prevention strategy we're really excited about is a program called Steps to Respect. It's an evidence-based program. It's 11 weeks of classroom instruction, and it is a best practice around social and emotional learning. It covers all 5 social and emotional learning competencies. We piloted it in 2 schools last year. We had really good response from the teachers and the administrators. And so we brought 8 new schools in, and we're keeping the 2 schools on. They want to stay continuing to do it. So it's exciting. It's a very effective program, but it's also a very cost-effective program. It only costs $2,000 to $3,000 a school site, and it's a one-time cost for the curriculum. All the training we do in-house. So we really feel like this is a program we could have at every elementary school in the next few years, and the data really substantiates that it makes a big difference in the levels of bullying that occur at the schools. At the secondary level, can I have about 2 more minutes? Okay, great. At the secondary level, it's a little trickier. There aren't as many really cost-effective, evidence-based programs. We are doing a couple of things like Safe School Ambassadors and some other things, but it's hard to look at rolling those out to all sites because they are a little more expensive. So we're continuing to explore options at the secondary level and also continuing to support things that already are going on, things like student assemblies, events, and awareness activities, which, you know, are very effective in their own right. And then we're also going to be working with the District Student Advisory Council to generate additional strategies. We know the secondary level is where bullying peaks, but we also know that if we start at the elementary level, we will impact the secondary level as well. Data collection is a very important part of our project. We need to know where bullying is peaking, what schools, what grades, et cetera. So we're looking at the data in Zangle. But the data in Zangle isn't necessarily the best data because we haven't had a real uniform system of coding bullying. So some administrators may code it as bullying, some may code it as fighting, and so part of our training is to try and get them on board with a consistent way of coding it. The California Healthy Kids Survey we are hoping to use in a more robust way. We added 8 questions specific to bullying this year, and we're awaiting the results of that. But we should be able to get a good snapshot of where schools are at based on student responses to those questions. We'll also get evaluation data from Steps to Respect, and of course, as administrators and teachers are trained and bullying reports come in, we'll be looking at that data both qualitatively and quantitatively. Community involvement has also been a huge part of this project, and with no exaggeration, I would say that if it wasn't for the level of community involvement we've had, we would be nowhere near as far as we are. We've had so many folks from the community, as well as parents and students, come out, help us plan, help us think through issues. I had one community member that called me today and said, I just want to tell you what a great job Sheila did at the presentation at Burbank, and I have some feedback to give you. So we're getting it, we're really getting a lot of support. We've had support also from SCOE and Sacramento County Mental Health, who are actually partially funding the Bullying Prevention Project, and recently starting to get some interest from the media. The focus on special populations is important because we know these 3 populations are at highest risk of bullying, and so we're working to do some additional work to support LGBT students, students with mental health needs, and are beginning to look at what we can do for special ed students as well. So our next steps are to really focus on training all district administrators this year and really getting them comfortable with training their staff. We're going to go out to the middle and high schools and do the training for them, but we really want to use a train the trainers model at the elementary schools and also begin to use Steps to Respect as our training for teachers at the elementary schools. We really need some time to implement this bullying reporting system. It's new, everyone's stretched, but it's a good system. We'll work out the kinks this year, and I think it'll be a really powerful way of not only seeing what's going on, but responding to it in an effective way. As I mentioned, bringing Steps to Respect to all the elementary schools. I think we can ramp that up over the next 2 years. Developing prevention programs for the secondary level, aligning bullying prevention and social emotional learning. Of course, monitoring what we're doing and identifying the gaps as we go along. And recognizing that this is a multi-year process. We're asking a lot of school administrators. We're asking a lot of sites at a difficult time, and it's going to take a lot of training and coaching and repeating and communicating, but we really think that if the whole school community comes together, that's how we're going to make a big difference, not just around bullying, but around creating a positive school climate. So thank you very much.
Would like to see, do we have no public comment? And we have a board member. Oh, we have a few board members. I'm going to go with the first light. Number one is Member Kennedy.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. I appreciate that. Couple questions. The report of suspected bullying form. How is that available? Where is that? Where do
You want to speak?
We may have included it in your packets. I don't know if you got it. And we have some that we can hand out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I know what they are, but I mean,
Oh.
how are they, you know, how are we getting the word out that they're available, that?
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah, so through the administrator and teacher trainings that we'll be doing this year, and we also are trying to get time on the principal's calendar so that we can present to all principals at once about the new process.
And that probably, superintendent probably is something that is easily accomplished, I would imagine.
In this case, well, absolutely, although I will tell you, we guard our time with principals really judiciously, but this is definitely an area that is going to be. And I would also say that certainly having the forms available on our website will be very important and readily available through our various, making sure that our partners, PTA and DAC and everyone is aware. I think, again, getting the word out is going to be very important.
Yeah, and it is on our website. It can be completed online. It can be emailed as a PDF. And we also want to emphasize that's not the only way bullying can be reported. We want to have many avenues for reporting.
There's also the what's called We Tip Bullying Hotline, and that too. I'm going to ask the same question: how is that being pushed out? How is that being publicized? How is that being marketed to our students?
Yeah.
So that they know?
So we distributed a few hundred posters at the beginning of this year to all the schools, and we can distribute more and get the word out in different ways. But are there any other plans for distribution of WeTip?
We have the distribution.
You might want to get for the record. Thank you.
We distributed to every school site posters that are advertising that, and we are continuing to build on the website the information so that hotline number is available. And once again, sharing with principals kind of what the scope of reporting practice will be.
Okay. And one area you talked about specific students of interest who are traditionally targeted targets of bullying. We used to have, for example, a banner behind us that said "No Time to Waste: Conference to Empower LGBT Students." I see that you specifically called out the fact that we're reaching out to LGBT students, and that's fabulous. Are you coordinating closely with the LGBT? What is it?
The task force.
Task force. Thank you
Yes.
very much for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So you're in conference with them.
Absolutely.
Process.
I attend the LGBT task force, and then we share some membership across. So we're trying to have that liaison and that information sharing back and forth and coordination of efforts.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Member Bell.
Thank you. This is really good information. Thank you for sharing it. And when you handed these to me, that's, well, generally they go to Gail, but I thought I had the whole pack of bullying materials. I'm looking through them. But I'm really grateful that you handed out these forms to us because it's good to look at them and actually see, we can discuss it, but actually looking at it is tangible, gives us something to kind of go by. And so I'm going to ask about this before I have my other comments, and that's because just as soon as I started looking at it, I wondered when you have the one about midway on the first page about indicating the involved aggression toward a student with any of these characteristics.
Correct.
And then it's just 4 groups, and I noticed there's no other. And I can think of, at least in my work with youth, like many other reasons people get bullied besides
Absolutely.
these four particular categories. So I just wondered if you were thinking about at least putting in another, or broadening it, because you do give there is an opportunity to at least describe it more in more detail. But it just seemed to me that especially right now, there are so many reasons
Yeah.
that kids are bullied for, and many that we would never even think of.
Agreed.
So
The piece
that would
around-
be a suggestion I have.
Thank you. And there are, as you saw in the previous slide, all of the perceived characteristics that can be enumerated from the strategic plan. Overweight, obesity was considered of particular interest. And then the other three categories really feed into civil rights issues as well. So we're highlighting those because of our due diligence that we need to wrap around those particular
And
students.
I can totally understand and appreciate that, and that is, I mean, it's critical and important, but it felt a little limiting to me.
Yes.
Because even though you need to highlight those for particular civil rights reasons, there's other reasons that, that of course that people are bullied, and if they're only working from this form, they may feel
Absolutely.
limited, like they have to find one box that people fit in, and there's generally not a box. Which it's interesting also, which brings up the overweight piece and the obesity piece, because I was talking to somebody earlier today who had been talking about all this emphasis on obesity in youth within our schools was driving up the incidences of eating disorders. So, I mean, it's always a flip side, but so this person was talking about this, a lot of kids showing up in school systems who are starving themselves because they're afraid of this obesity factor. So just as a flip side, something to be aware of. And then there's also, I think, things that go along with that where bullying could come into play. So anyway, but this is great, and I'm really, really happy for the presentation, because it's an incredibly important subject, and it's really vital for if students are to learn that they feel safe in the schools. So thanks very much.
Vice President Wu.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. It's wonderful. I just have a couple questions regarding both the reporting of bullying and the anonymous reporting through the hotline. Are the reporters maintained as confidential?
With the anonymous We Tip hotline, if they were to reveal who they are in reporting, that interaction would be disconnected. It truly is anonymous, so that there's no way to backtrack or to find out who is reporting, whether it's a parent, teacher, student, or whomever. So it is really reporting the incident of what's going on, who would be involved, but giving your name is not a part of that system.
Okay. How about the use of the form, since the forms are way down there and I haven't seen them yet?
I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah. The use of the form is really, the front page of it is really to initiate the observation, the report that any employee would receive about bullying. And at the end of the form, it states specifically that once you get this preliminary information, the first thing you do with it is hand it to the designated site administrator so that he or she then can begin an investigation of determination of whether it's bullying or not.
The only reason why I ask is I can think of the victim filing a report, but I can also see a third-party observant filing a report.
Absolutely.
They may not come forward if they didn't have a sense that their reporting would be maintained as confidential.
Absolutely. And we are maintaining the confidentiality, and we are supporting bystanders who do see bullying that occur and report that. We are encouraging all of those methods, and particularly students who may be targeted. I agree with you that that can be a very difficult stepping forward to report that. So we want to wrap as much support around them as possible.
Good. Now I have a question on AB 1156 that you described. It's not clear to me, but at some point, if things aren't working out, then at the student's legal guardian request, the administrator will give priority to transfer the student to another school or district. Is that for the victim or the perpetrator?
I would reframe that to say the targeted student or the aggressive student.
Okay.
And it would be for the targeted student.
So,
So if I'm being targeted by bullying on a chronic and pervasive basis, and it's impeding my ability to attend school or my physical health or any of those, the nexus between those two things, then one of the options, once we've gone through these planning processes of safety and change and modified and worked in that direction, if our efforts truly do not meet the needs of that child, then the guardian can request that.
the reason why I raise it is because for the victimized student, it may be thought then to be further victimization by forcing them, because they did nothing wrong to instigate this in the first place, but by the fortune of who they are or their characteristics. And so it seems to me that, notwithstanding the fact that this provides at their request, I don't know if the law is written that way because I don't have the bill in front of me, but if there is an opportunity to interpret the bill such that it could be that the victim is seeking the transfer of the bullier rather than the victim themselves, I'd keep that in mind as an option because I hate to further victimize somebody who's already been a victim.
Absolutely agree, and I think the intent is simply to provide an option for students as a last resort. And now that we're actively rallying and supporting their safety, then I think this, once we've tried multiple supports, would be at least a piece of the conversation. But it's not the first piece of the conversation.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. I have one question, and first of all, I really appreciate the PowerPoint presentation. It was well laid out, and especially in the data collection area. So the question I have is specifically about data collection. How often is the board going to be getting updates on the data collection and that you intend to collect? And also, will we be receiving information on the number of reports that were the number of incidents that were reported and the outcomes of those reports?
You know, currently we don't have a plan, but we can accommodate whatever the board would like. So, yeah, we're open to whatever would work.
Yeah, I think this is a very important topic to the board. We've been involved in this process, and it's, I mean, just 2 days ago, I got a call from a parent about a bullying incident at a specific school site. So, you know, we board members need to be kept in communication about this. Constantly reminded, we have a we tip, and there's a process. This is a new process. So it would be appreciated if we can bring that. Superintendent.
Yeah, I know that I would say, though, that in the policy and the administrative regs, there is data reporting pieces in there. So, you know, we'll figure out the best way to bring it in. But it's absolutely something that we look at, and it is something that we measure, and particularly with all of our work around suspension and all that, this is an integral part of it, and with a emotional learning piece. So we'll just work on the frequency and how we do it, but certainly this work will be coming back before the board on an annual basis. I mean, this is our plan. We wanted to bring tonight as the sort of the opening to showcase, you know, and highlight where we are, and we'll plan to do it on an annual basis. While I do have the floor, if I could just add to Vice President Wu's comment, you know, we certainly have all of the disciplinary actions appropriate when students use inappropriate behavior, and certainly bullying is one of them. You know, that subjects them, you know, to discipline action, which can result in removal from the school site, transfer to another school site, placement in an alternative program. So I just wanted to assure you that, you know, we still have all of those options available to us.
Are there any other board comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, thank you all very much for your hard work on this. Certainly is appreciated. Thank you. Item 10.3, approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators 2012-13 school year. It's a conference action item, 5-minute presentation and a 5-minute discussion. Ms. Carol Minoni.
Good evening.